The whole thing just honestly didn't make a lot of sense. Let's just be for real. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. So today is Thursday, September the 26th, and we actually got to see live for the first time the way that Judge Hippler is going to be commanding the courtroom. And I do have to say that I like his approach so far. It is very, very clear that he's not going to put up with any child's play.
Expectations of mine, given that I don't think any of you, other than Ms. Massoth, have appeared in front of me before. I do expect, as it probably will come to no surprise to you, for you all to get along. I understand the stakes in this case are as high as they can possibly be in any case, but you are professionals. You have taken oaths, both as of officers within your jurisdictions, but also as attorneys before this bar. So I expect at all times for you to remain civil to one another, that you not engage in personal attacks, ad hominem attacks, that you not engage in theatrics, not mistake the facts or the law to the court, and that when you cite arguments in your briefs, if there is contradictory precedent, I expect to see that. Again, I just want to highlight that because I understand when the stakes are high, sometimes victory seems to be the objective when our first objective is to conform to the oaths that we've taken as members of the bar, as officers of this court.
And honestly, after Judge being so indecisive and really only caring about the case whenever his reputation was on the line and nothing else mattered to him, seeing the way that Judge Hippler was handling this today was sort of refreshing. I like it so far. On top of that, the audio and the video, much clearer. This is probably going to be just a better all the way around experience. Now, what we did learn is that the only person that the judge has ever dealt with before when it comes to the state and the defense and the actual lawyers is Massoth. So when it comes to Ann Taylor, Bill Thompson, Logsden, the rest of them, they've apparently never been in front of this judge before. So considering that he's fresh to all of them, I like it more. Now, Bryan Kohberger was in a suit for court today, but Judge Hippler made it clear that this was only for now for this hearing that happened today, and said that there was going to end up being a closed hearing without Bryan Kohberger present, where they were going to discuss whether he could continue to wear the suits or not. It's not really so much as a rights situation, even though that is brought up, but also for security, which is the reason why apparently Bryan won't be involved in these closed hearings, because it will be with security officers and people that can, I guess, give them insight as to what's happening. I guess we don't really know for sure. It's a toss-up. Now, Ann Taylor had a couple of updates and stuff. Now, apparently, one of the mitigation experts that were hired on has since passed away. Now, I've been given a name of the person. I haven't been able to validate this myself. So when and if I do, I will probably put it in another video or a community post. But I did find it interesting that the state seems to be okay with pushing up some of the deadlines, including starting the trial in May instead of June. But the defense is like, maybe September would be best, because Judge Hippler was like, not really wanting to deviate too much away from the original schedule that was set up by Judge. Even when it comes to the hearings that are showing as canceled in the case summary, they were talking about how the next one in line was supposed to be the one for November the 7th. And it seems like that's going to happen still. So we might end up seeing those court dates uncancel themselves and just be at that courthouse instead. But the whole thing about the mitigation expert passing away, I sat back and watched this entire hearing again and saw how both sides were playing this completely just not cute. Okay. For one, Bill Thompson tried to say at some point that he couldn't figure out how to alleviate the issue that Miss Taylor had if he didn't know what the issue was, but then a few minutes later admits that not only had Ann Taylor informed him and his team that one of the mitigation experts had come down with health issues, but had also some time ago, meaning this has been something that he's known about for a while, they were also informed that this same person had passed away. So I found it complete crap that not only was Ann Taylor going to try to use that to sort of like make excuses for getting some deadlines pushed back, but that should have been something that the court was addressed with long before anything switched over to Ada County. And even if it would have just happened in between, which I doubt because of the wording that Bill Thompson used whenever he was describing his knowledge of this, I just found both sides were sort of trying to use it. And it was kind of a gross thing to see play out. Now, I will say, considering that it's a mitigation expert and mitigation only comes because of this being a DP case, if Bryan is ending up, on the innocent side of things, then none of the mitigation stuff is going to matter. So, regardless, it shouldn't really be an excuse for anything. But the defense is trying to use it to get a certain deadline pushed back from March to April. But again, this doesn't seem like it's a new situation. Replacing the person might be, but for some reason, even though the state very much already knows the situation, and Taylor was still being hella secretive about it. The whole thing just honestly didn't make a lot of sense. Let's just be for real. Now, something else that I feel like Ann Taylor maybe tried to make like a bigger deal than what it is, or tried to make it to where the defense needed to use this as an excuse for something. She brought up the fact that the public defender system is going to be completely changing on like October the 1st. She kept mentioning the whole thing happening next week, and then Judge Hippler mentioned how all of these transitions were going to be happening as of October the 1st, which is next week. Now, this is like a public defender across the statewide situation where not only is the Idaho Code, 12.2, that they're apparently getting their funding information from going to be changing, but the way that the public defender system is in general is going to be changing. But the way that Ann was making this seem in court was as if, oh, me and my team are not under contract and all this stuff is going to be changing. And how are we supposed to get funding? Miss Ma'am, chill out. Everyone is literally going to be dealing with this transition at the exact same time. It just seemed like a frivolous waste of oxygen. I'm just going to say now, my stance on where this is has not changed. They're doing a piss poor job making me believe that Bryan Kohberger is the guy, okay? But this is the least amount of confidence that I have had in Ann Taylor this entire time. Okay, let's just continue. Now, another thing we found out is that since August, the state has handed over another 398 gigabytes of data. And according to what we ended up finding out later on, whenever Judge Hippler asked a good question about how much of that data was new information. Well, come to find out, it contained a OneDrive from the FBI that the defense already had, and a cumulative amount of information that the defense also already had. So when it comes to how much of it was actually new evidence and new information that they somehow just popped up with out of nowhere, 1% maybe. And Ann Taylor is also sitting there stating that this 398 gigabytes of information that they got way back in August, that her team still hasn't gone through all of it yet. Well, I've made a big comment about how I feel like both the defense and the state do everything they can to dilly-dally and bill as many billable hours as they can on some boo-boo. This whole thing about these kinds of trials taking years and years and years should not be this way. And people are always coming in the comments saying, you don't know how the justice system works. These trials take this long. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. They're milking it. Milking it. And I'm glad the judge said this.
24 hours in a day, but if you use enough of those hours, enough days in a row, you get it done if you have to.
It's true. Time management is super important. And whenever you're sitting there trying to tell us that you have your entire team that's in your office, but then you also have 25 experts and investigators working this, there's no reason why 398 gigabytes of data that you got over a month ago has not been sorted through yet. Now, just so that you guys have an example about how much data that actually is, it states right here that you could store around 1 to 200 HD movies, depending on their length and quality, that it's roughly 100,000 songs in MP3 format, that it could be up to 100,000 high-resolution photos, but could also contain millions of text documents or PDFs, which again does sound like a whole lot. But whenever you hear that the majority of it is information that the defense already has, yeah, in a little over a month, they could have definitely gone through all of that if they really have all those people working on that team. Now, one other thing that Bill Thompson said that was pretty interesting was that whenever it came to like the actual penalty phase, if Bryan Kohberger is found guilty of this, that unless they end up learning something else from the defense's expert witnesses, there won't be anything additional that they bring to the table. They are relying heavily on only the guilty phase information. So when it comes to sentencing and penalty phase, they've got nothing. So they have nothing that they want to push forward to show anything additional after that. That's really it for all of the information I obtained from this hearing, me personally anyway. But I do want to leave you with this one little thing that really just just listen.
I hate to say that and feel like you're cutting my own throat in a sense, but that's realistic. I hate to say that and feel like you're cutting my own throat in a sense, but that's realistic.
Yeah, he said exactly what you think he said. And the court didn't bat an eye. No one in the entire courtroom did. But whenever he said that, my eyes got big and the chat started going off. Did I hear what I think I heard? What did he just say? Yeah. Now, a lot of people were also saying, oh my gosh, Bill Thompson is there. Yeah, Bill Thompson was always going to be there. Now, I saw a lot of people commenting to me about this, and I just decided to just let this one ride because it goes to show you that maybe you shouldn't listen to everybody out there that talks. Apparently, certain creators were out here telling people that Bill Thompson was not going to be working the case anymore because he wasn't on the documents. But that's not true. See, he wasn't on both of the documents, but he was on one of the documents. If you go to the last page of the courtroom conduct packet that got released at the exact same time as the notice of hearing, Bill Thompson's name is the first one on there. So a few creators just assumed without any actual knowledge of what was happening because he wasn't listed on the actual notice that he wasn't going to be there. And they came out here and did a video and had everybody up in a tizzy thinking that Bill Thompson wasn't going to be part of the case anymore. And the prosecutors being changed out was never part of this. So that's why I decided to just leave that one alone, even though I had people asking me about it, because I knew that come Thursday, come today, with what we saw today, it was going to work itself out. And sometimes you just got to let that happen. Now, we do have one new document, but this is one that we pretty much knew was coming because at the very beginning of this hearing, Judge Hippler did state that there was an order granted for Bryan Kohberger to be in his suit just for today. So I will go ahead and put this one in here with this update because it all comes together and gives you the complete picture. So this is the order temporarily granting defendant's motion to wear street clothing, and it states the following. Before the court is defendant's motion for defendant to wear street clothing to all public hearings, and having considered the motion and for good cause showing, the court will temporarily grant the motion for purposes of the hearing noticed for September 26, 2024 only. Civilian clothing must be provided by defense counsel to the Ada County Sheriff's Office in advance of the hearing, and there is a footnote that states the court may direct the Ada County Sheriff's Office to employ other security measures related to defendant's September 26, 2024 appearance, and then finishes off stating at that hearing, a date will be set for a subsequent closed, sealed hearing on defendant's motion as it pertains to his future appearances. So this is literally the exact same thing that Judge Hippler mentioned today, that this was only for today and that there was going to be a closed session minus Bryan so that they can discuss it further. Now, to me at first it sounded like it was going to be like a date by date basis, but I think that all that he really meant by what I heard and most likely misinterpreted was that before the next session where Bryan has to be like actually there, that's whenever they're going to have the closed session and decide from there what they're going to do, I guess, permanently, up until trial anyway. Now, one thing that was apparently different, according to Bryan Enton, who was there today, is that Bryan Kohberger was actually handcuffed behind his back whenever he was brought into court, and they didn't do that in Moscow. Normally, from what I'm understanding, he was cuffed until he got to the door, and then he was uncuffed before he got to walk into the courtroom door. But here, they keep him cuffed all the way in, but they don't have that part on camera, which is really all that matters because it's for what the public can see that's being advertised out there. And if a few people that are sitting in the courtroom see it, then honestly, it's not that big of a deal, especially considering the fact that the majority of those people are going to be news media and the victims' families and, you know, a sprinkling of civilians probably. So, yeah. Now, if you did not get to watch the hearing today, I will have a link for it down in the description box. If you go down to the Idaho 4th District Court YouTube channel where it actually streamed from today, it is unlisted, but it is there. So I don't know if I can see it because I already had it open or what's going on, but I can definitely see it. And as you can see, it says it's unlisted. So very, very interesting. But again, let me know what you guys think about what happened today down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you were not subscribed already. And don't forget to make sure that your notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.